basically in my life, I think when it comes down to changing, I was always one of these Catholics that just went to church every Sunday, you know, even after getting out of school and kind of being on my own. And most of the other kids were kind of like saying, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. I was always one that always went, but I never got anything out of it. You know, I just did it. It was just part of it, just doing it. And I went through my life and went through a lot of ups and downs, had a lot of mistakes, had a lot of successes, and still never really found anything, or I didn't get any feeling from what I was doing. I was just kind of going through the motion, just kind of rambling through. All of a sudden, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the fact that I got involved with something. I got involved with the choir here at Sacred Heart. It was probably the first time in my religion that I really got involved. I did get involved with a group when I was as a teenager with another priest at another parish, and I really enjoyed it, but it didn't go any further than that. But when I got over here, it was just something that something I've always wanted to do. Never really thought much about it until I just started coming. And again, I was still going through the motion. It was just a matter of me just coming here, and now instead of going to Mass, I was enjoying singing while I was in Mass.
For a long time, I've been on the fence about whether I believed in God, whether I believed the Catholic was the right religion for me. And I always found it easy just to put that issue aside, not consider it, not make a decision about it, and just go along with my life the way I wanted to. And finally, when I could see that my child was of an age where it started mattering to him, then it really began mattering to me. And so I had to make a decision. And it had to be a decision for me, not because I was doing this for Mickey or because I was doing it for my wife. It's a decision I had to make for myself as to what I believed and why. And being in the legal profession didn't make it any easier, because in my profession, we're taught to look for facts and to find concrete evidence for things. And when you're dealing with questions of faith, it's not always an easy thing to do. Nonetheless, I began searching, trying to find some way to make this religion real to me.
You know, when I think about change, it's always something that's hard to do. And generally, I won't change until I experience the way I'm trying to do things as being just totally frustrating and hard, and then really it's time to kind of surrender to God and what He wants me to do. And as I think about it, I think that one in the not really distant past, but when I was leaving campus ministry, and I mentioned it before, leaving campus ministry and coming to Sacred Heart, one of the things that I was not looking forward to doing was working with the high school age group again, because in campus ministry, you know, we predominantly worked with young adults and faculty and other parishioners who came to campus. We didn't have, for the most part, teens. And so when I got here, it was something that I was not looking forward to doing. But just as got into the parish and things began to happen, take place, it's just something that did change in my heart, that it was something that I began to look forward to doing. I know it's difficult and it's messy and it's challenging and it's frustrating, but yet there's still a looking forward to doing that. And now over these past years at Sacred Heart, it's even become kind of an emphasis in the parish, working with our youth and the teens and with the Life Teen program.
One of the changes that I can remember, probably when I was about your age, most of your ages, is I read a book called Unconditional Love, and it really changed my life. I came to realize that the only way I could truly love people was to give that love as a gift. You know, that God didn't put any conditions or any strings on His love for me. It wasn't "I'll love you only if." And the first confirmation class I taught, I remember them giving me the perfect definition of it: "I'll love you just because." And that changed my life. I truly began to look at people and look at the way that I give love, that it had to be a gift. And then it freed me up to be the person that I wanted to be, and I wasn't reacting to other people so much as just becoming the person that God wanted me to be.
I had an opportunity to go to Mesa, and it kind of changed my life. It gave me a whole different direction. It started really making me feel that all of a sudden things were starting to really click for me. And I knew what Jesus wanted me to be. And I started feeling Him really deep in my heart. And really found out that seeing Him for the first time, seeing Him through the eyes of someone else.
Because I found that faith does matter, and it matters very much. In fact, it's the most important thing that we can do in our lives. I decided that you can't be faithful or believe in a religion to satisfy other people. You have to do it for your own reasons. And so I did begin a journey, and my journey took me a lot of different places. Mostly in my head, but as a result of reading an awful lot. You can't just figure this out on your own. We've got almost 2,000 years of history of other people a lot smarter than me thinking about these things, putting it down in words, and giving us the benefit of all of their wisdom. And so I've tried to take advantage of some of that wisdom and reading a lot of books. And it does make sense to me, this whole concept of God and Jesus Christ being the Son of God and coming to save us. And unless you really start thinking about it and look at things that other people have written about it, it is going to be a foreign concept to you. It's not going to make a lot of sense. And unfortunately, even I can't make a tremendous amount of sense out of it, partly because it's based on faith. But what I have found, and what I found to be a very profound idea, and only recently, is that God gives everyone free will. It's what separates us from everything else on earth. And a product of that free will is that you have to have, or in order for free will to work, God has to reveal just enough of Himself so that you know He's there. But He has to keep Himself hidden enough to give you the opportunity to not believe.
My wife helped me out with that. She told me that I always seem to see the best in people, which I was glad to hear that, because that's real important to me. I think it's important that we see everybody as God's child, God's children, starting with ourselves. I think it's important to see yourself as a beautiful child of God, and then it's important, or easy at that point, to see other people as beautiful children of God. And when you do that, it's hard to be prejudiced. It's hard to be prejudiced when you see everyone as an equal child of God.
And all of a sudden I just started understanding what this was all about, especially when it came to the Mass itself. And when I came here to worship, it was a worship all of a sudden. It wasn't just coming to Mass, and it wasn't just coming to sing. It was just the fact that I knew now, and I started to try to understand all the parts of the Mass and what it really meant and how things were. And now it's a big part of my life. Try to take it past just that, maybe an hour or 2 hours every weekend or whatever we're doing in church. I try to take it a little bit further, and I'm still changing. It's still new to me. And don't ever think that no matter how old you get, that things don't change, because it's just a matter now. I think instead of being changing, I think it's a matter of growing and growing with it.
Sometimes I find when I'm talking to patients that they need a little direction, and so let me give you my 2 bits worth of direction, and I'm not going to charge you for it. I think it's good to step back sometimes and look and see what we're really here on this earth for. And as I was reading through your song, the words, it talks about that sometimes we do things for us, and that's not really why we're here. And we're here to know, love, and serve God. And that's step number 1, so that someday when we die, we'll be able to meet God in heaven. But I think even more important with that is that we're here to bring others to heaven. And I think if we look at our lives as an instrument of God's will, and we do the right thing and hope that by doing the right thing, others will come with us. And I think it all starts to make a lot more sense. So I often tell kids when they just seem like they're not, what am I doing here? I say, well, that's what you're doing. You need to bring some others up to St. Peter's Gate with you. So if you're looking for a reason to be, there's one.
He made him, so we all want, the bells and whistles and signs and wonders and, okay, God, prove to me that you're real. And if he really did that in a big way, we really wouldn't have free will. We wouldn't have the ability to not believe in him. And I think that's what makes the big difference here. He doesn't want to force us to come and love him. No more than you want to force a child to love you. You want the child to do it on his own, and it's a lot more gratifying that way. And I think that's why we're made in his image. I think that's how he feels about us as well. He wants us to do it willingly, on our own free will, because we understand, because we love him, not because someone else is forcing us to do it. So that made a lot of sense to me. And I just wish that I had the foresight to have done that 20 years ago, when I was a lot younger, instead of just straddling the fence and say, okay, one of these days I'll talk about religion and think about religion, but not today. One of those days, the day is going to come and you have to make that decision yourself. And if you're going to be Catholic, you have to do it for yourself, not because your mom and daddy were Catholic, or your grandma and grandpa were Catholic. You have to embrace the religion yourself and see what it's all about and make it real for you. You have to do that. You can't be Catholic for somebody else. But yeah, I have changed, and I'm glad that I've changed. I don't think I'd change back for anything in the world. And I hope I continue feeling that way for the rest of my life.
The whole song about change reminds me of something that a Jewish rabbi once said. He said, it's not so important who God is as much as who we become when we attach ourselves to God. And I mean, that kind of sums it up, What kind of difference does it make in our life because we believe in God? And I think as you go out and try and live that life and try and make those changes in your life, the advice I would have to give is don't put God in a box. That God is way too big, and don't ever limit his love for you or your ability to love other people by saying that he has to fit inside of a certain area. Always be open to the limitlessness of God's love.
The only advice I can probably tell you is what I've now told my kids, and the fact that now I'm experiencing the things that I've experienced. And I know it's not something that will just all of a sudden happen. It's going to happen through time. But just to keep that faith, even though you may not understand everything at this point in time in your life, and I know that as you move forward from maybe being through school, through work, or whatever you go through in your life, things are not going to be rosy. But the main thing that I think you have to focus on is having that faith. I know a lot of things that happened to me in my life, and I've gone through some traumatic things in my life. That was one thing that I kept. I kept that faith, even though I didn't put a real big practice into it at the time. I kept that faith. I told both my boys that don't ever let that go. Keep God in your heart, no matter if you're not in it right then and there at that point in time. Keep him in your heart. He'll always be there with you, and you'll be there through the tough times. And all of a sudden, they'll just kind of blossom, and you'll start understanding what it's all about.